There's a big crowd here. They all wanted to see this match. This was the big one. In many respects, as big as the final itself. If it doesn't arrive, he's out. Indeed he is. Oh dear, Tommy Johnston. Taken apart by the great man, by Brian Duncan. And that was as cruel a defeat as you've ever seen. Brian Duncan in total command.
Yes, the main man was certainly in a mean mood yesterday, and he's back to try and finish the job off today and become the first man to win the Bassmasters on 2 occasions. £7,500 first prize might have something to do with his determination as well. Mind you, one thing we've learned about this tournament down the years, there are no guarantees. David Copeland is Duncan's semi-final opponent. David's sort of come through on the blind side, which is often a good omen here. Copeland, Duncan from the top half of the draw. Well, this was the quarter-final lineup from the bottom half, play starting at 10 o'clock this morning. We now know who the semi-finalists are. The youngest player in the tournament, 21-year-old Kevin Shaw, is through.
And suddenly, the pendulum swings, the pressure now on Alan Broadhurst. Kevin Shaw goes to pick up his second bowl, wondering whether he's going to have to bowl it. It depends on this one. If it stays out, no, the handshake has been done. And this brilliant young boy, Kevin Shaw, goes through 21-16. A superb performance, and he's in the semi-final.
And where he lines up against the veteran Gary Wallis. He's been around a long time for a 24-year-old as Gary. He really breezed through this morning.
Now the chance for Gary Wallis, the young man. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's it. It's all over. Gary Wallis, 24 years old. The lad they call Maradona has put on a scintillating performance here to win his way into the Bassmasters 1990 semi-finals.
So for a place in the final of the 1990 Bassmasters, Brian Duncan, David Copeland, Kevin Shaw and Gary Wallis, both semi-finals in our first session this afternoon. In fact, it's in reverse order. It's Shaw Wallis to start with. Live action here at the Woodland Hotel in Ellesmere Port. And that is Kevin Shaw, who is right in the groove, against Gary Shaw, who is totally out of sorts. Gary Wallis, who's totally out of sorts. The score is Shaw 14, Wallis 3, as we join our commentators Brian Brett and Hugh Johns.
Thank you, Elton, and indeed we are just completing the 13th end of this match, and so far Gary Wallis has only scored on 2 of those ends. He's scored on another one, he's got a double, but he does not look in the sort of mood that he was when he took out David Webb in the quarterfinals, allowing David Webb only 8 shots. Gary Wallis with so much to do. This young man, 24 years old, from the Doncaster area of South Yorkshire. He just hasn't got to grips with his game here this morning, and Kevin Shaw, 21 years old, from Bolton, has certainly been boss man. Bright sunshine, the green speeding up as each minute passes by, and morning dew and dampness comes out of the grass here. Delightful delivery style of Kevin Shaw, which has had him in the groove all week. But he hasn't reached with that. Gary Wallis with his bowl on its way now. There's been an air of despondency about even the way that Gary has been walking the green. He's holding 1 at the moment. Now, what sort of a line has that got? It's trying hard, but I think it's going to give up. A single then. 6 Gary Wallis, 14 Kevin Shaw. Gary has not looked happy, Brian, at all in this match, and I'm just wondering whether it's the bowls, whether it's his mind, what it is.
I think it could be the bowls, Hugh. Despite that earlier win over David Webb, 21-8, I don't think he's happy. They both have 2-pound 12-ounce bowls. They're both composition, but Gary's are the narrower, newer shape, and I don't think they will look at certain marks on this green. He was out practicing. He looked very despondent early stages. He won the first end, but then it all piled up against him. And bowlers will tell you, if there are any seeds of doubt about their bowls, they will suddenly sprout into areas of very dangerous uncertainty. Looks a bit grim for Gary.
And Gary Wallis, as he lets that bowl go, will also have in his mind the trophy that he could win if he gets this. He's bowling in that direction. The trophy in the eye line now of Kevin Shaw. It's on its way. Is it going to arrive? Given up. That's a very loose end. Well, perhaps it was the sun glinting off the trophy, which was in their eye line as they were bowling into that corner, that perhaps put them both off. But that's what it's all about, this fantastic Bassmasters trophy. Biggest prize, biggest cash prize in bowls, £7,500 for the winner. But you've got to get into the final first. Gary Wallis picked up another single on that end. 7, and double that score is Kevin Shaw's account at the moment, 14.
Interesting mark he's set this time, Hugh. Gary has only had the block a couple of times and has tried to shorten the game without any success. This time looking for a big, longer mark, but ooh, yard and a half through.
Kevin Shaw quietly asking Gary to get out of his eye line for a moment there, as Gary was reflective, spending rather too long looking down the green at his first delivery. Tension affecting Kevin just a little bit now. Gary coming in off the top side, but with too much running. Stayed on the green, but I wouldn't have thought that's going to feature in any count on this end. This ought to be the winning bowl. Is it? It's on a length. Is it close enough? Looks good. A bit of a loosish sort of an end, but a winning end for young Kevin Shaw. 21 years old, from Bolton. Man who performed a superb job on John Bancroft after Kevin was, what was it, 9-0 down after 6 ends. He was 19-13 down at one stage, and he still went through to take out John Bancroft, a former winner, 21-19. Then 21-8, Ian Wright, 21-16, Alan Broadhurst.
For the record, Hugh, they've only met once before. Gary Wallis won that one, 21-18, in the Stamford Van Hire competition at the Ring of Bells. That was 3 years ago. Kevin reminds us, he said, I'm a different player now.
Well, he is. I wasn't there myself, but people who were said that he looked so sharp in the Isle of Man Festival when he won against Colin Price to qualify for this Bassmasters. Third time lucky for him. He was runner-up in the Botanical Gardens in '88, which was a Bass qualifier. Runner-up in '89 in the Tetley Coral, which was a Bass qualifier. But he's made it this time, and he looks as though he could go all the way.
Gary almost, in fact, faced him in the semi-final at the Isle of Man. Gary looking for something here, but he went out in the quarter-final. This is spot on. That's better.
So 8 to Gary Wallis, 15 to Kevin Shaw. Gary, awful lot of work to do. And he looks into the corner again. Certainly not going as deep in as he did before. In fact, it's not going to the corner at all. I certainly got that wrong.
It's a mark he likes, isn't it? Because they get up and over the crown or the split crown, and then it drops down, and it's all about pace.
The jack's standing on a little bit of high ground, so there's just the tiniest push up as you approach it. So Gary just about holding, and Kevin Shaw for the second time had to ask Gary to get out of the way. The rules of Crown Green actually demand that you get out of the way of your running bowls so that your opponent can see its travel.
Yes, when it stops, it's course you when it stops.
That's a fine delivery. So Gary holding 2 right now.
Yes, they can stay on the footer until the actual bowl has finished its run, but they certainly mustn't stand in the line.
Well, that's 2. Gary Wallis, who is beginning now to get to grips with things, which I'm sure will cheer up his family. That's his wife Carol on the right of the screen there, his sister Kay. And, Carol was head in hands a lot of the time in the early part of this game.
I suppose, Hugh, if these bowls that Gary Wallis is that are slightly narrower do not work particularly well when he's following Kevin Shaw, then they may well work in his favour when he sets marks, because Kevin will not be able to follow him. Look at that.
Yeah, Gary Glitter beginning to get to grips with his own game. Gary looking to couple up with his first bowl. A double here would certainly make that scoreline look a lot more respectable. That's a good 2 at the moment. With weight, here comes Shaw. Got them all out. Left his own blue in. That was an unbelievable shot. I'll tell you what, I've got an idea that Kevin Shaw plays a pretty mean game on a pinball table.
Well, it was a long way, wasn't it? But he made his mind up so quickly, I'm not sure that he signalled. Got the referee moving smartly, got a result.
Well, the only thing he didn't hit was the jack. So he picks up a single. And you've got a feel for Gary Wallis on that one. There he was, sitting with a tidy 2, which would have closed the gap to 3 chalks, and now he's 6 adrift. Kevin Shaw 16, Gary Wallis 10.
Kevin Shaw came into the Bassmasters in fairly good nick. He'd won the Youngers handicap over at Muirbrow in Southport and reached the semi-final of the Sale Excelsior Invitation in good form.
So Kevin holding 1. Oh, what a tidy bowl that is. Gary will do well to beat those two. It's all about weight now because the line's very good. Oh, he's won it, I'm sure. Oh, what a fine bowl under pressure. Well played, Gary. Gary Wallis beginning just for a moment or two to smile and feel a little bit more cheerful. Cross into the center of the green. Curving underneath it, is he? No, found just a little ridge there which straightened the bowl out. Well, I think we're anticipating an intriguing game between these two young men who produce such a fine image of the game of crown bowls, and it's beginning now to develop into that after it looked like a runaway for Kevin Shaw. Good second bowl from Gary. Kevin going a long way out to see that bowl arrive. Through the gap. Well, that's the Shaw family, and that's his girlfriend Steffi in the dark glasses in the center, and Kevin's mum Stella on her right. Dad Ken behind. They've just watched their lad drop a couple of shots.
Yes, 4 winning ends out of the last 5. Gary Wallis, the important thing is he can now pick the land. He's going across towards the area we know as the Colin Trousdale Trolley after the winner of the tournament 2 years ago. If he can pick land that suits these narrower bowls, he could put in a bit of a charge.
Yes, and it was that Bass Masters of 2 years ago. Brian, you'll remember that Gary Wallis reached the semi-final there and was 15-4 up against David Richardson, only to lose the semi-final 18-21. So on that occasion he had a massive lead and lost. This time he's come from, what, 10-1 down, a gap of 9 shots after 9 ends. Here he is after 21 ends. There's only 3 in it. The blue bowl is still holding.
About 6 inches off. You are?
So Kevin is back in. It's got to be very close to get 2. It's not going to stop. Well, I think he'll be satisfied with a single.
Sure one.
At least he's got the block back in his control. And stretches the lead now to 4 chalks. Kevin Shaw 17, Gary Wallis 13. Not only the challenge and the chance of getting your hands on the big prize, but even just appearing in the final is worth £3,500, whereas the loser of this semi-final will go home with £1,000. I think there's a fair number of people wouldn't mind picking up £1,000 for losing a game of bowls, but it's nothing compared with the honour that you can get if you win it.
Well, it opens a few doors, Hugh, and it gets you back into the competition next year as well, doesn't it? Gary looking for some rewarding land to stay on, but
this is the danger in that corner. It is very quick down there. If you slide past the jack with even a tiny bit of running, you'll be in the ditch. Kevin Shaw has undercompensated far too much. That looks to have an awful lot of speed on it again, but it's slowing up, it'll drop on nicely.
Wallis won.
Good end to win. 14 for Gary Wallis, as he very, very slowly comes down this green, trying, I imagine, to give himself all the time in the world to compose his thoughts and get to grips with his game.
We've not had a smile. Is that the suggestion of a smile? He's certainly not the normal, confident, assured young man we've been following now over 3 years in the Bassmasters.
No, he's an elegant young man, always well turned out on the green. So much so that the steward of the Murfield Old Bank Club, Peter Oldfield, dubbed him Maradona for his fancy clothes and fancy footwork on the green.
Well, he could do with the hand of God right now, I think, Hugh.
Kevin then. Needs to climb up that tiny hill and stay up there with the jack. That's a good bowl. Gary needing to take a yard and a bit of running off this second delivery. Stayed out. Stayed way out. Got to be a chance for two here. No, it's given up. Oh, he did it again. Would you believe that? That ball looked as though it had stopped dead. And it's still crept in for two. I think he's got a small clockwork motor built into that bowl, Brian.
Well, certainly he's carrying with him in his left hand a damp cloth just to keep the palm moist. It's very hot. It helps grip the ball a little easier in this heat, and certainly then it had another set of legs set up again.
Well, that comes from his trade, I suppose. He's in the post office, in the data post, parcel force officer, and they always deliver. And he's been delivering with some accuracy throughout the entire course of this competition. He's only got to deliver two more. Chalks up on the board, and he's in the final. Whoa. Now that's a good bowl. As soon as it laid down, it was a good bowl, because the land up in that end slopes away very, very sharply indeed. So you need to approach the jack with great caution. It's still rolling, it's still rolling. It stops at last.
2 yards.
Both bowls a couple of yards through. The closest, the yellow bowl of Gary Wallis. Start pulling up now, or that will run away a distance. That's won it on a length.
That's a good bowl there, isn't it? Because it is awfully difficult. It's a thumb peg mark, but anything past the jack can go an awful long way.
And this a vital end. Whoa, whoa, or hit something. Oh, what a beauty. Pushed that on just enough to get two out of it. Yes. What an end to win, and what a way to do it. Well, I think that is worth seeing. Again, the accuracy and weight of that delivery.
Yes, the thumb peg, fairly straight mark, but it's got to hold its line and hold its course. Narrow pegging bowls, these of Gary Wallis. Little bump there helped. Right on it. Good two.
Well, that changes the picture. Gary Wallis with the block back in his control. Once again, only 3 chalks in it. 16 to Gary Wallis, 19 to Kevin Shaw. And remember, Gary was well adrift at 10-1 down. He was adrift at 15-8 down. He was even more badly adrift, I suppose, a couple of moments ago when he was 19-14 down. Now then, Gary Wallis has won this end at this moment.
Wallis again, more running in this bowl, needs another connection. Gone out. Well, 19-16, the Shaw advantage, but this certainly against him. 2 against him here. He's got to save.
Well, what have we got now? Gary has picked up his back bowl, so he reckons he's only got the 1. And they're waiting for Kevin Shaw to come up very slowly. He was giving himself a little time to compose his thoughts, get him sorted. Now there's only 2 in it. 17, Gary Wallis. 19, Kevin Shaw. There's a fairly shortish mark here now. This thumb peg looking to get just a little bend at the finish, but it didn't come back.
It didn't look at it at all, Hugh, did it? So at least Kevin Shaw has seen the possibilities here and can afford to narrow a shade.
Yes, needs to come inside the line that Gary Wallis set out on, but he needs to have just a little bit more motor in the bowl than that. Gary will have learnt from his first delivery. His weight was right on the first one. Just a bit heavy, but that will stay and to pose a problem for Kevin Shaw. Now that's got decent running. It's got too much running. Oh, yes. I think that's 2 more. 2 more to Gary Wallis. They're waiting for Kevin Shaw to come up and agree the end. But when he gets there, he's bound to nod his head and say, yes, Gary. It is 2.
Wallis 2.
That's the answer. So, 19 each apiece. Gary Wallis has, bit by bit, overcome his nerves, overcome the thoughts of uncertainty that he had about his bowls, and he's overcome that massive lead that Kevin Shaw built up. And 19-19 is the scoreline. This game has become as tense as we thought it might be, Brian.
Well, and whether Wallis likes these bowls or not, the point is that he's stuck with them because his others are nowhere near the Woodland Hotel. He's left them miles away. He's stuck with these. If he wins this, he goes into the final with the bowls he's not happy with.
Kevin trying to get himself totally organized. Oh, yes. Unlucky. And Gary Wallis went to Chester Races yesterday to calm himself down for today's play. Didn't pick any winners there. Lost a tenner. He thought that might be a good omen Unlucky at the races, lucky here at the Woodlands. Well, a chance, a great chance for Kevin Shaw to go into the final. He's holding one. The short bowl is a long way away from the jack, so I don't think he has to worry about promoting it. If he can drop in on his own bowl, that'll be enough. It's there, it's there. Yes! 2 to Kevin Shaw, the handshake, and this bright young man from Bolton is in the final in his first attempt at the Bassmasters competition. He looked the winner earlier in the match. Then Gary Wallis came back at him, niggled at him, got it to 19 across. But then Kevin Shaw produced the 2 cracking bowls on this last end. Look at his feet, dancing away behind this bowl, willing it to stop. Slow down, stop, stop, please. Bingo, there he is. 2 blue bowls and 21-19. Kevin Shaw goes into the final, putting out Gary Wallis. Well, that was super stuff. And when you come back to us again, you'll be seeing the semi-final, the other semi-final, between David Copeland and the great Brian Duncan.